The report basically shows us both that we need a quantum leap in ambition in the next nationally determined contribution, so the next climate targets that the countries are going to put forward in their next climate plans, but also that ambition means nothing without action. We basically need to bring down global emissions in 2030 below the levels that are associated both with current trends based on existing policies, but also with the promises that countries have made in their current climate plans for 2030. Otherwise, we have virtually zero chance of limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius over the course of this century, and also achieving just limiting global warming to below 2 degrees will be significantly challenged. Well, I've always said, of course, we know that the emissions from the Nordic region are pretty small in a global context, but what we can offer is to help with solutions that will be valuable to other countries as well. And furthermore, if we're talking about fair shares, equity, just transitions, it's not just about reducing your own emissions, but it's also about supporting other countries to accelerate their decarbonization and also to realize their development goals and create a just transition along the way. So it's both domestic emission reductions and support to especially developing countries. In the emissions gap report this year, we start going into, so what do all these global targets and milestones, how do we then translate them into what needs to happen in individual countries or in groups of countries? And of course we have the global averages, and you can say that many of the Nordic targets, Danish 70% reduction by 2030, is more or less aligned with the global average, what would be needed, because of course it also depends on the base year you're comparing against. So you can say if our targets are aligned with the global average, I think there's a strong argument that we should be moving further and faster than the global average, given both our capacity to do so, our resources to do so, and also, of course, our historical responsibility. And it's also interesting that more and more of countries and parties are actually looking into fairness and equity also, or referring to it in their nationally determined contributions. We see that in the EU's nationally determined contributions. The UK that just submitted their new NDC target also refer to fairness and equity. And then you have at least a better starting point for assessing whether you agree with that. I would love to see us moving even faster and also helping to spread the solutions to parts of the world where emissions continue to increase.